Hello there, gaming here. No, I'm kidding. That's again not my name. So today, of course, as you can see, I'm kind of lowballing this as I'm away from my computer. So yeah, phone time. Anyways, let's begin. Yes, here are my suggestions for the balancing issues. So to begin, I think the Gatling gun is a bit too OP in its current state, unless it has been changed already. Again, away from my computer. I believe the Gatling gun should have a lower range but keep the damage, as it should be something that's very powerful from close, but not usable from a distance, as I think that would be make it, well, special. Sort of special. That should be the point. There shouldn't be direct upgrades. There should be something that's special or great for something but not good at something else. So people actually use different weapons and not just don't keep using the same things. Also, I think it should be heavier. Also, sorry for my drawing, I'm not an artist or grammar. But yeah, it should be heavier, as then people won't be able to use it for. I'm sorry to the viewers who use it. RCS planes or flying boxes, as I think if it would be heavier, it would be harder to use on planes that cannot be heat seeking, taken out by a heat seeker. Or helicopters in that matter. Hell, most planes will have problems using it. That's why, I mean, that would be at least realistic, as the Warhog does have those specially built engines. Not specially built, but I mean, you saw the engines on that thing. Of course, it has to have those kinds of engines for that kind of power. Again, just my thoughts, my recommendations, not fact, not something that's gonna happen, just the way I think it should be balanced. Moving on, the tank cannon. The main problem with this before was easily spammable. You can have 6 of them completely destroy the enemy team. Some of you might not see a problem here. I do. I think it should be more heavier to prevent such things from happening, and higher price. Again, to prevent such things from happening. I also think it should have higher damage, maybe even higher than it had before, just so it could, well, definitely penetrate. Because it's a cannon, it's a tank cannon. Tank cannons are made to penetrate armor, so again, logically speaking, it should have more damage, but less AOE. That's area of explosion. Less area of explosion, as so it can differentiate, so it could be different than the ship cannon. But yeah, I think, for example, the tank cannon should have more penetration than the ship cannon, even though penetration isn't a stat. Now, it has to be heavy and a higher price, specifically so it can't be used on heatlesses that easily. Again, that thing is not meant for planes. Hell, do you think my heatlesses use tank cannons to strike ground targets, and it's annoying to fight against most of the time because I do actually make good planes that can take hits. But the point is, that shouldn't be possible. I should struggle, and I do struggle using them. For example, my first gunship can't actually lift off. It has to fall off a cliff just so it can actually start flying normally. Same with the duck. The duck has to reach its max speed on ground just so it can take off. And that's by turning. So again, not an easy setup, and it will make it harder for me and for everybody else, but it will be more fair to ground players, as air targets should not have that kind of firepower and invulnerability and invincibility, basically, from air to air missiles or ground to air missiles. Again, just my thoughts. If you disagree, comment down below how you would balance it. The ship cannon should have a projectile fall off, so for it to be more of an artillery piece than just a normal cannon. Also higher range in that matter, like long range projectile fall off, so it doesn't just go forward. So you have to kind of intend for it to. You have to aim a bit higher than you're actually planning on. You have to aim a bit higher to hit a bit lower. That's what I mean. Like actual projectile fall off, like a real gun has, for example, and more and a higher and a bigger area of explosion. Sadly, I did not actually manage to test out the new ship cannon in detail, but I do believe that the ship cannon's main pros should be higher area of explosion. So even if you do miss directly, you could technically damage the enemy. Yes, I know, doesn't sound fair. It's basically like you can fire bombs at people, which, yeah, isn't exactly fair. But I do believe that should be some sort of possibility, as the cannon by itself, good damage, and that kind of reload speed does not help its case, at least in my eyes. I think a bigger area of explosion could make it more enjoyable to use, as even if you do miss, you still have another shot that might KO the plane. The plane, I mean tank. And if it does show that the higher area of explosion basically makes it the most powerful weapon in the game, either revert back to its original state or lower damage, as I do believe a real artillery piece that has long range, some sort of fall off, something that can allow new players or original players to actually use a ship cannon as it is in real life, would be nice. Again, my thoughts. I did not test this out in any way, just something that I came up with, so if you disagree, you have the right to. And the semi-gun, or the machine gun, or the whatever you want to call it, I think it just has to have some sort of AoE. Some sort of area of explosion, that's it. Like, not a lot. Hell, it shouldn't be noticeable. It should just be noticeable if if the player using it somehow manages to hit a gap, so it damages 2 pieces of armor and that's it. As I do believe that this should be some sort of precursor to the tank cannon, something new players automatically get to use, so they can choose. They either can use something that fires really fast and shreds light material, or something that hits harder but it doesn't shoot as fast. I think that was the point of the semi-gun from the start. Second page, the chain gun. I just think it should have a bit less damage, as the chain gun, as it is, or as it was yesterday, I think, does have a bit higher damage. I don't believe the chain gun should be comparable to the Gatling gun in any way. It should be something that people would use for long ranges, something that can shred light materials, definitely. Maybe not as light as concrete or iron, or metal, excuse me. It's because of the material texture, that's why I call it iron. No, but like, I don't think it should be as powerful as a Gatling gun, at least in damage. I don't believe it should be stackable to that kind of power, at least not the power of 2 Gatling guns, because that seems a bit unfun to fight. Again, my thoughts, but in my honest opinion, I think the chain gun is something you could spam to attack planes, and that's basically its main purpose. Something you use to basically take down planes easily, because it shreds wings and propellers if it's a heatless, or RCS, something that you blindly fire into the enemy and hope to hit a turret or some sort of weak spots. That's what I think the chain gun should be used for, not something that people use instead of a cannon. Excuse me, I'm a bit tired already. And of course, the small bomb. This one is the most controversial one because I don't actually see the reason for it. I just think it could be a cool idea to be added. I think, like, original state, but it costs less, what you may call it, weapon points, let's call them, to place. I think it should be the same price as a flare in weapon points, because on its own you have to hit a direct hit to do any damage, and even then, not exactly enough to do anything, at least in my tests. Look, I get it. Some of you might think it's perfect as it is, but I think if you would make it spammable, it could be more fun, because hey, if they miss the target, like it's gonna do any damage. If it's spammable, it usually hits something. At least they try. Also makes carpet bombing possible. Accurately carpet bombing possible. And again, just my thoughts. If you disagree, comment down below. Again, I just think it would be cool to be able to actually do carpet bombings with bombs. Yeah, in short, these are my explanations. I think Gatling gun has too big of a range. I think the tank cannon has too low of a damage, because the tank cannon is basically what? Some sort of flak cannon currently. Something that can fire, something that fires, something that explodes, but it doesn't actually penetrate shit. A ship cannon isn't, though, special enough. It isn't that different. It has The main difference is maybe a bit stronger. It's stronger and it has a higher reload, and that's it. Those are the main differences. And in my honest opinion, I think it could be a bit better if it would have, well, yeah, higher area of explosion. Again, just my thoughts. Hell, you can, if the admin is watching this, you can ignore this if you want. I just think maybe it could be a good deal. Maybe it could be a good thing. Maybe some of these changes at least could do some good. The semi-gun should be a cannon for noobs. I mean, I think we can all agree on that. That was the original purpose as far as I can see. Something that has more power than the chain gun, but lower firing speed. If we can't agree on that, then I'm sorry. Chain gun should not be comparable to Gatling. I mean, I think that's obvious, right? The Gatling gun is its own weapon for a reason. And again, nobody uses small bombs. As far as I don't remember the last time I was bombed by small bombs, usually medium. Maybe one time, but I think rocket pods are a better deal than the small bombs in their current state. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Peace out.